Hello, everybody. This is my niece, Deanna. Hi, Deanna.
Hi, Uncle Frederick.
Where are you based out of? Where are you located?
I'm based out of Fort Worth, Texas.
Fort Worth, Texas. And what did you
Yeah.
just do this morning? What did we just do this morning?
This morning we had our, what do I want to say? I want to say annually. Well, we had our prayer line, our family weekly prayer line.
Yeah.
That's the word. Yeah, thank you. We had our weekly prayer line.
Weekly
and
prayer.
I was a teacher.
You were the teacher, okay?
Yes.
And hey, folks, she brought a phenomenal lesson. You did a beautiful job. I mean, it was like, I'm like, I felt that, And I'm like,
Good.
Yeah.
It was a struggle. I was up. I know, I don't know if you checked your email, but I emailed you back last night when I got done with the lesson.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes. And I was preparing for that all day, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, have to get it right. So, but it worked out. I was nice. I was okay with it when I finished.
Let me show y'all what we're talking about here. Let me just give you an overview, okay? This is what we do, okay? We're the part of the Jones Family Prayer Ministry, and this is our 2020 calendar, family that prays together, stays together, right? Okay, and there are topics right there. January, February, we meet every week. And look right here. Here's our teacher right here. There's Deanna Stafford. She taught the lesson today. Leslie Song, Gabriella, that's Jonathan's wife. She prayed. And my wife, Loretta Precious, did our scripture. And Loretta was our facilitator. And so the lesson today was so good. I wanted Deanna to come back in here and give us a recap of what she talked about. Take us away.
All right. Well, do you want me to read the lesson and then we'll go over the breakdown of it?
You can do it however you like to do it. This is you on to give us what you learned from this Sunday school lesson.
Okay. Well, the lesson was over Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 through 14. I'm just going to go ahead and read the lesson flat out so that they get the same feeling that you felt.
Okay. All right.
Consequences for injustice. While reading the lesson, I couldn't help but to reflect on the epidemic that has taken over the world today, sending many in a panic frenzy. No description of society is more similar to what is going on today than what was voiced by Habakkuk in this chapter. As he looked at the situation in Israel, he saw nothing but violence and sin everywhere. Habakkuk, from the misery of his annoyed heart, he called out to God to do something about the trying times he was witnessing in Israel. How long, Lord, must I call for help, but you do not listen? Or cry out to you violence, but you do not save? Why do you make me look at injustice? Why do you tolerate wrongdoing? Destruction and violence are before me. There is strife and conflict abounds. Therefore the law is paralyzed and justice never prevails. The wicked hem in the righteous so that justice is perverted. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. I was taken aback reading this lesson because I too have been frustrated with the ways of the world and found myself questioning why my father would allow any of this to go on. But just like God showed Habakkuk, he showed me as well. In the text, he responded by saying that he would use the Babylonians to inflict suffering upon Israel, confusing Habakkuk even more, because to him, they were worse than the people of Israel. So how could God do such a thing? Habakkuk's reaction was probably like that of Christians today. If God told us that he would use a group of terrorists to inflict damage and bloodshed on our sinful nation, we would probably all ask, how could God use such wicked people to come against us? Yet, as I continue to read further into this lesson, God made it very clear that I should stay in the child's place when it comes to his job.
Wow.
My mom says it all the time, so I was like, oh, that's going to be so good. In Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 6 through 14, it tells us when we take advantage of others, we create enemies for life. There is no escape from sins and its consequences. Building ourselves up by tearing others down actually brings ourselves down. The things we build for ourselves in this world are built in vain, and instead of seeking short-lived glory for ourselves, we should seek God's glory, which should be universal and eternal.
Let me jump in right there. I want you to go back and read those last two or three sentences again, because that was so powerful. And I want you to read them kind of slow, because that's a powerful underscore right there. Go ahead.
Okay. The things we build for ourselves in this world are built in vain. And instead of seeking short-lived glory for ourselves, we should seek God's glory, which will be universal and eternal.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seeking things that will last.
Mm-hmm.
Think, like praying with your family,
Mm-hmm.
singing and laughing with your family, because family is forever. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
We're gonna unpack this a little bit more.
Okay. In conclusion, I've taken away this nugget in particular that we can all use from this lesson this week. We as Christians are called to acknowledge that our God is indeed the one who should fill our lives with his glory. I challenge us this week to turn from whatever wrongs we have done, whether it be big or small, and turn to our God and recognize that he should be given his rightful place in our lives. I know that I've fallen short for judging people over their ways and pointing a finger to their wrongdoing as if I could see their punishment coming. Yet that's not my job. And God has a funny way of reminding me to stay in the child's place. Our Father judges and punishes those who defy him with their corrupt lives, and I don't want to be a part of that. As a family, we don't want to be a part of that. The truth is, there are consequences to injustices, and God will see to that. Just remember to sit back and let him do his job. That's the lesson.
Tell me, what was
Mhm.
the big problem here? What was the problem in this lesson? What was the conflict that Habakkuk was addressing?
He was mad at the way Israel was basically crumbling, at all the sinful people that were in the world. He was upset at God, like, why are you allowing this to even happen? Like, how could you allow something like this to even go on? He was frustrated. And when I was reading it, I was like, this is such like an aha moment, because I know I can relate to it, and so can so many people, because we often be like, how would God let that happen? Like, why would God allow something like that to even go on? But it's like, wait a minute, stay in a child's place. Like that was like, that is so like a pivotal, like a aha, like, ooh, let me check you real quick. It was so crazy that you even gave me this lesson, because I was like, I'm gonna struggle with it. But when I actually read it, I was like, oh wow. I say all the time, he's a funny guy, because it's like, I'm gonna show you, like, I'm gonna let you know what I'm actually saying. I was like, dang, it was so good. It was so good. But I understood Habakkuk as well too. Like I felt with him, like, yeah, God, what are you doing? Like, why would you let this happen? But
So let's unpack this, and let's make
mhm.
let's bring it down, like I used to say, so the goats can get it. Now you know why that expression? When goats and sheep eat together,
Mhm.
they don't let goats and sheep graze together, because goats eat closer to the ground than sheep. So if you put
Oh,
goat and sheep together, the goats will eat up everything and the sheep won't have anything to eat. So when we put it down so the goats can get it, we're putting it down real low. Okay, that's
oh.
like breaking it down like a shotgun. It's like, break this down
Okay.
like a shotgun. You know that shotgun breakdown, huh? You ever see?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you said, wow, the conflict in this lesson was, why would God allow something like this? Why was Israel being treated like this? And that was so
Mhm.
unfair. It was so unfair. Let's talk about some of the unfair things that people deal with, like in their personal life or in life today. What are some of the things? Okay, it's like you immediately. So tell me, let's talk about some of the things people feel like are unfair.
Well, right now we could talk about poverty, the sickness that we see that people are born with. Like I still struggle with how babies come into the world and can be dealing with so much. Like, it's like, oh, you're just like, you're embracing your new life, but you're dealing with sickness, or you're dealing with death, or a long-term disease. Um, Going back to poverty, how there's just a lot of people. I try not to judge homeless people. And I oftentimes, like whenever I go to food shelters, I'm like, want to hear their story. Like, how did you get in your situation? And hearing their stories, it's like, oh my gosh, like, you're just like me or anybody else, but your journey is different from mine, but you're a good person, in this sad situation. You understand?
Yeah.
And it like that to me makes me like, God, like, why you do that to that person? Like, that they didn't deserve that. But then again, it's not my place to question their journey and what he's doing with that individual. But you have to, remember that.
Yeah.
Um, I know a lot of people are going into a frenzy as well, like I said in the lesson, regarding COVID that's going around, COVID-19. You also want to question, like, how could God let something like this outbreak happen to, such individuals? Like, what is going on? Like, why would you let it go this far with all what they were trying to do? Like, it's just so many things in this lesson. I was like, wow, like it goes with today so much. And it's crazy because this happened billions of years ago, but today it's also standing still. Like, it's also like, hey, I'm going to let you understand where I'm coming from, as Habak was teaching, like as he was talking, like, yeah, what is going on, God? Like, why would you let that happen? And it's just so like, this lesson was just so like creepy to me because it's just so related to today's time. At least for me, that's what I was taking from it. Like, that's just so weird. I cannot get over it.
I can see the joy on your face from having studied this lesson. So tell me this. Let's unpack this. What does it mean to you when it comes to this lesson, stay in a child's place? What did that tell me? That's kind of like the solution to the unjust. Stay in a child's place and trust God. What does that mean to you? What does it look like?
I still struggle with this because I guess being here physically, you want to figure things out on your own, or you want to come up with the own plan and you want to see it follow through. And very much of like, I did that. Like, I can do it on my own. But with everything that we go through in life, I know for a fact that God is teaching us a lesson. It's just kind of like, if you calm down, if you listen to what I'm trying to tell you to do instead of trying to figure it out on your own, you'll understand what it is that my plan is. And this could go back to even like as a child, with relation to my parents. If there was something going on regarding my mom trying to do something and I'm in the kitchen thinking that I know that I can do it for her or I can figure it out. And it's like, girl, like, move, that stove is hot. Don't touch it. Stay in a child's place. I've warned you. Well, it can't be too hot. Me wanting to figure it out and do it on my own, I'm going to touch it. But you're forewarning me. You're telling me to get out the way. It'll be taken care of. I know you want to help, but this isn't your place to do this. This is not your business. So I think with me saying stay in a child's place, as God saying, like, listen, I understand that you're aware. I understand that you want change. I understand that you want to fix things and do it on your own, but that's not your place. Like, let me do my job and it'll be taken care of. And I know also as well, a lot of times I find myself wanting things done when I want it done. Let me move, like it should happen now. Like, what are we waiting for? It doesn't work like that, So I think that's just like, stay in a child's place. You have to remember to let people do their job. You can't do everything. As much as we would like to think we're superhumans and I can figure it out or I can do it, I'll fix it. It's not your job. Like, let people do their job. Let God do his job and everything will work out. So
how did you get here? How had you, I've seen you grow up as a young lady. I remember you doing your athletics and in school.
Yeah.
I've just seen you just grow up into a beautiful, mature adult believer. How have
Thank you?
Yeah, all of that. Every time I call you to participate on the prayer line, you just say yes right away. How have you gotten? Talk to me about your journey, your faith journey.
I really feel like, and I think it's true, whenever you go to college, you find yourself. So going through high school and even with my athleticism, I would say a lot of things were kind of handed to me. So I didn't really have to work for anything. When I went to college, my first 2 years, I was at a school with a coach and we were like this. He ended up getting a better offer. I had a long-standing injury that took me out. And the new coach came in and we just weren't really meshing. So I went to another school. At the other school, it's kind of like, we don't know you. So you have to prove yourself and you're starting from ground zero. And when I tell you, I was like broken down to the point I was in a closet crying. And, in that moment, it was kind of like, I had to drop everything because it was like, God, I need you. I can't do it on my own anymore. I'm not picking up where I thought I was. I'm not able to do any of this that, I could. Like, I found myself in that moment, like really crying out to God, like, help me figure it out. And it's funny too, because my go-to in any situation, I'm going to call my parents. I'm going to call my dad. If he doesn't answer, I'm going to call my mom. Like, they'll figure it out. not relying on God, in my growing up years, because I didn't really, I was too very much caught up in like the worldly situation of what we were going, how I was living my life. But in that moment, like, I remember I was like in my closet and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what to do. I'm struggling with my athletics. I'm struggling with my grades. I'm struggling with connecting with this new team that I'm a part of. I'm not happy. Like, what do I need to do to get myself out of this? Continually asking, what do I need to do? Never in that moment was I like, God help me. Until like I went to the closet, like I had closed the door, it was dark, and I just sat there and I was just like crying, what's going on? What is going on? And I honestly feel like at that moment I heard God as well too, like, my child, like, now you can see me. Although I've stripped away all of this beauty and glory that you came with and everything that you thought that you were without me. But now you realize, I am your friend. I can help you through this. And so ever since that moment, I ended up joining what was it? It was like a student athlete fellowship. So I was going to that every Wednesday. I would go to church with them. And in that moment, like, I started realizing who God was. Like, that through that journey, I started understanding like who he was in my life. I started figuring out my purpose. It was just like a very much awakening. So I'm very thankful for that. I share that testimony all the time. Like, I was in the closet crying when I found God. And I'm not ashamed of the, like, the process or the journey. Like, I'm thankful that I actually went into that closet instead of just being like, well, whatever, let me go figure it out again. No, I'm done. Like, I can't do it on my own anymore. So I think just from trials and tribulations and lessons that he's placed out for me, I finally took a step back and was like, okay, what is it that you're trying to show me? Is this plan that you have for me? Like, help me. And that, like Habakkuk was questioning God, like, what is it that you want? Like, what is it that you want from me at this point? Because I can't figure it out. And he's been great ever since.
The smile on your face says
Uh-huh.
your smile is magnetic. What is life like now, living in harmony with Jesus and having this relationship with God? What is that life like now for you?
Life is good. And it's crazy because you can look back and it's like, you were going through it, but I didn't think I was. I'm thinking I'm enjoying myself, but I was so miserable in that time period, looking back at my life. But now, like, I'm happy. Like, I wake up joyful. I wake up laughing, every day, like, just thankful for whatever it is that he has planned out for me. And I found myself even now going through trials. I don't dwell on it. And, I know that there's a lesson within this blessing and I'm going to get over it. I'm going to be able to see like the outcome over it at the end of the, the rainbow. Like, it's funny because oftentimes I'll be in a situation. I'm like, okay, I can find myself stepping back. Like, okay, I can figure it out. I can do this. I need to do this. I need to plan this. And they're like, you know what, God, what are you trying to get me to, what are you trying to get me to realize? And it'll reveal itself. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's a funny God, So my life now is where it needs to be with him. Like, my walk and my faith, our relationship, we're good.
What would you say to somebody who's listening to this? Like, my life, I like God, I love God, but it ain't good, or I'm not up with God. What would you say to somebody who feels like they're faced with a personal injustice? Maybe they was hurt by their mom. Maybe they were broken in a relationship. Maybe they were rejected by a coach. Maybe they have faced some crisis in life. God took somebody out of their life that they thought should have been in their life. And they are like still bitter. They're still broken. They're still like, angry with God. What would you say to that person? I want you to just take your time and talk to that person.
Mm-hmm. To that individual, I would say, I was you and whatever it is that you were dealing with. And I think that's the beautiful thing about God, or knowing God, is because your story is relatable with whatever it is. You're not the only one going through that by yourself. I would say it doesn't rain forever. Take a moment to speak to God and God only. Like, I had several car rides where I would cut the radio off and just, listen or be waiting for something. Or even if I didn't hear anything, I know I would find myself like voicing out to God my frustrations or my concerns. And then by the end of the drive, I'll be like, well, what was I upset about? Like, he listens, and although we don't hear him physically or we don't see him physically, he's there. And it's a weird feeling. Like, speaking about it now, I get chills, because in moments I feel like I know that was God, or I know he was there. But it's hard to see that whenever you're facing your own challenges, because you think like, I'm in this alone. Nobody is here. I have nobody to talk to, but you do. And he's there, and you just have to call on him. I would say, don't compare your journey with Christ to anybody else's, because everybody is different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's story is different for a reason. But you are all able to connect in the same type of way, because God is just in our life, touching everybody and everything to connect us. We are all supposed to be brothers and sisters. We just have to step out and realize that. So to that individual, I would say, keep fighting. If you want to take the time to question God and be mad at God, do that. He's there. He wants you to speak with him. He wants you to talk to him. He wants you to just rely and finally realize that he's going to be there for you and hold your hand through the process. You just have to trust and believe that he's going to do that on his time, not your own. I know everybody wants to be like, this is for me. I'm waiting. When you're going to make it happen? No, he's coming. Staying in child's place.
Deanna, this has been phenomenal. What I want you to do now is look into that camera, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Close us out with a prayer for that individual that you just spoke with. Just take your time,
Okay.
pray a prayer and a blessing over them.
All right. Well, let us bow our heads. Father, I want to thank you for this day that we have been woken up, because somebody is still asleep. Lord, I want to thank you for the week that you have already laid out for us. I want to thank you for whatever challenges we may face, because I know that with you by our side, we are going to be able to take care of it. Father God, I ask that whoever is watching this, whoever is struggling with their journey right now with you, Lord, I ask that you let them know that you are there. Whether it be a soft whisper or a wind blow on their face, God, let them know that you hear them and you're waiting. You're always waiting. You're going to be waiting for them to reach out to you and ask for your help. Lord, I just want to continue to thank you for how good you have been in my life, how good you have been in my family's life, Lord, how good you have just been to everybody of this world. I know at times we all get frustrated with what is going on, but God, I'm allowing you to do your job. We all are allowing you to do your job. Just continue to show up and let us know you are there and you are waiting. For the individual, you can make it. It's not over. You're going to be able to get through this. You're going to be able to survive this. And you're going to be able to come out on the end of this rainbow, and be able to share your story, your testimony of how you were in your moment, broken down, weak, scared, alone, tired, but you heard God. And I just want to thank you for being on this call. I want to thank you for listening if you stayed on this long. I love you, my brother or my sister. I love you, Uncle Frederick. We love you, God. This is my prayer. In Jesus' name we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Wow, you're going to make me cry. Chills. Oh, wow. Wow, what a phenomenal session. Whoa, I think we've tapped into something. What do you think?
Oh, good. Me too. I like this. This is good.
Hey, we could do this again and again and again.
Okay.
Hey, folks, I want y'all to remember, the family that prays together stays together.
Stays together.
If you're watching this on YouTube, click the subscribe and follow button. You'll get more. If you listen to this on Facebook, hit the follow button. If you listen to this on Instagram, do whatever they do on Instagram. If you listen on podcast, do whatever they do there. Thank you.